Namaste everyone. A very warm welcome to all of you for today's lecture series on Plato dialogues. This lecture series was started during November 2019 with the topic Apology. Till date, we have covered more than 20 topics of Plato dialogues. Helping us as speaker for this lecture series is Sri T.K. Jayaraman. On behalf of Indian Institute of World Culture and all of us here, a very hearty welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Sri T.K. Jayaraman is well known to all of us, a truly multifaceted personality. TKJ, as we popularly call him, is an engineer in electrical, masters in philosophy, bachelors in law, MA in French, and postgraduate in management. He was selected for the prestigious Indian Revenue Service in 1973 batch, and he retired as the member of Customs Tribunal. An engineer, a management major, a lawyer, a student of philosophy, and a retired IRS officer, has been associated closely with the Institute for more than 2 decades now. He has been providing lectures on variety of subjects since 2015. He has covered Western philosophy extensively, and he has been a teacher of our French classes. Today he will be covering Hippias major, meaning what is beauty, under Plato dialogue. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Arkali Venkatesha Prasad, for your nice introduction. Indeed, you had really very kind words for me. Thank you all the listeners who are going to listen to this talk. Today's dialogue is, as Mr. Prasad put it, it's called Hippias nature, or in some books you will find it as greater Hippias. First of all, I have to clarify. Hippias is the name of a person who is a participant in the dialogue. Why this major or greater means? There are two dialogues. The other dialogue is a shorter one that's called Hippias minor or the smaller Hippias. So Hippias is the same person. So you should know why it is called Hippias major. Now, before going into the actual contents and the theme of the dialogue, I have to tell something about Plato and his dialogues. I have to give a small introduction to Plato and his dialogues, because some people may be listening to this dialogue for the first time. Plato is actually in learned circles, he is a household name, because every schoolboy also knows who is Plato. One of the greatest Western thinkers who lived in the 4th and 5th century BC in Athens, in Greece. He comes from a very aristocratic family. He never had to work for earning a livelihood. But generally we know him as a disciple of the famous Socrates. Socrates was the greatest Greek philosopher. Of course, he never left anything in writing. He was all the time talking to people, and he did not write anything. But he is quite famous for his method of approaching any subject. So, how do we know about Socrates? You have to understand, Plato was his disciple, and he wrote lots of dialogues where Socrates is one of the participants. And in these dialogues, you will find not only the views of Socrates, his ideas on several issues, but also Plato's own ideas. So, Socrates at the same time was an exponent of his philosophy, was also a mouthpiece for Plato. And Plato wrote in the form of dialogues. Dialogues are interesting to read. If you take a book on a serious subject, if it is like a textbook, then people normally get bored, when reading a textbook. But if it is like a dialogue it is like a theatre, people are participating and saying one thing, other, and all that. So it lightens your intellectual strain. At the same time, it gives you many ideas. So Plato, not only a philosopher, but also a great literary artist. So he wrote more than 50 dialogues, some of which are not available now. But each dialogue will explore a very, very important subject which is relevant for life. That is why they have perennial interest. So long as humankind is there, you cannot avoid Plato's dialogues. Even now, in almost all universities, both Western and other parts of the world, Plato is a must. So, this is my short introduction to Plato and his dialogues. Dialogues are very, very interesting, and I myself have covered nearly 20 dialogues. So, today, this dialogue, as I told you, it is Hippias Major or Greater Hippias. And regarding this dialogue, some scholars doubted its authenticity, or they were telling whether this is a real dialogue written by Plato or not. Because there are certain linguists, who analyze the style of a particular work and they will say, no, Plato would not have used this word and all. So we are not going to go into the controversy, but the majority of the scholars felt that it is really an authentic dialogue, and they had given lots of commentaries on it. So this dialogue, where it would have taken place, scholars say, sometimes in 390 BC. Now let's come to the dialogue proper. So what is this dialogue about? And it is very easy for you to comprehend, because there are only two participants in the dialogue. One person is Socrates and another person is this Hippias. Now I have to tell you, who is this Hippias? Socrates, of course, is well-known philosopher, a very great man, a very healthy, little rustic, and he was not dressed also properly. He was not very good looking. He used to go around the marketplace without footwear. He did not bother about all these things. Socrates, whoever comes to talk to him, then there will be problem. That person will pretend that he knows something. And it was Socrates who would show to him that he did not know what he pretended to know. Always it was the case. So he earned the enmity of many, many people. And also there was a charge that because of his argument and all that, people used to question everything. Young people then started questioning everything, all the traditional things. So there was a charge against him that he was corrupting the youth, And finally, unfortunately, he was sentenced to death. So that was the end of Socrates. It was very sad. Now coming to Hippias, I have to tell you that Hippias was a sophist. Now you will ask, who is a sophist? In many of my talks, I have explained who is a sophist, but again here I have to tell you a few words about this term sophist. In ancient Greek, there was a school of philosophers known as sophists. Sophos actually means, it's a very good word. Sophos means wisdom. So these are all the teachers. They are the teachers. They traveled from place to place and they were educating the young men. They were educating in what? They were educating in how to communicate, how to speak well, logically, how to reason, how to say things effectively, because these communication skills were very necessary in those days in ancient Greece. Why? Because ancient Greece, you had a lot of city-states. Each city-state will be sovereign in its own, like Athens, Sparta and all. So there was, so many laws were there, and there were a lot of litigation. So the communication skill was very, very necessary. That is why these people started teaching the communication skills, rhetoric, logic, argumentation, all these things. So in that process, they did not teach it for free. They charged high fees, and many aristocratic youth used to learn from the sophists. There were very great sophists like Gorgias, Protagoras, and all these people. They earned a lot of money. So they were taking money. There is nothing wrong in taking money. But then what happened? Some of them, they could argue on anything. Suppose you give them a topic, they can argue for it, and they can argue against that topic. And what happens? Sometimes when your logic gets perverted, then something you can say it is X. At the same time, you can prove that it is not X. So, what you call as fallacious reasoning. So, these sophists were, some of them were notorious. They were great thinkers. They were all intelligent people. Not that they were dull or stupid, but they got a bad name thanks to this Plato also. Because Plato, in every one of his dialogues, he is always having a dig at the sophists. So that's why sophists, this will even in English language today, you have this term. It is a very derogatory term. If somebody says, why he is making all these sophistries, means it is not straight reasoning. Some clever way of putting things and proving. That is in English language, go and see the dictionary. Sophistry is a very bad name. Bad word, pejorative sense. So that is all thanks to Plato, But it's not that all of them were idiots or they were charlatans and all that. So you have to understand. Now this Hippias is one such sophist. So, alright. Now what is the setting for this dialogue? The setting is like this. Hippias is coming from a place called Elis. Probably it is his own native place. It's also a city-state in Greece. So he is coming to Athens. Athens is always the place where all the dialogues take place. It is the place where Socrates resided. So he comes on some mission and he has to give some talk in a school, because these people were always in demand. So he happens to meet, so he is coming there, Socrates happens to meet him. Socrates meets Elis, and oh, charming Elis, charming as a Hippias, so you are coming here after a very long time. So Socrates cleverly puts, and you are really depriving the Athenians of your wisdom. Like that, Socrates uses some words of flattery to this fellow, Hippias. Now about Hippias himself, I said already that he was a sophist and he was a teacher. He was going from place to place. And now some pleasantries were exchanged between Socrates and Hippias, and Hippias answers him. Hippias is a man, although brilliant, he was a man full of vanity and pride. He says, what Socrates, my state, sends me to various places on diplomatic missions, It's a renowned teacher, so I am sent on to various places like Sparta, Athens and other places. So I am terribly busy. Besides that, all these teaching engagements like that. He was full of vanity, And he gave this portion in the dialogue is pretty long, which is longer than the other portion, which is the main thing. So I have to tell you what exactly. Then Socrates asks him, oh, is it like that? Oh, I know, I understand. Socrates was always just flattering him out. Oh, you wise man, I know you are in demand. It's very nice that you have come to Athens. Then this person, then a talk comes about, the yearning of the money. And this Hippias tells, oh, I earn, so much money. So once I went to Sicily, earned a lot of money, and then gave to my parents, my father also, and other people in my place. So they were all very happy. So his importance is that he is a person who can earn a lot of money by his teaching. Then he also often goes to Sparta. Then Socrates asks him, oh, you earned so much money in Sparta also? Then he says, not a penny in Sparta. Why? Spartan people, they are not availing of your services. Spartan children, they don't get education from you. Then he says, no, in Sparta, they are very fond of their traditional educational system. So they don't have so much. But still, I go there, I give speeches here, there and all. And he tells the places where he earned a lot of money. And he is full of pride because he says, once I went to Sicily, there, even Protagoras was there and all that. I gave a lot of lectures. I earned more money, more than what Protagoras and Gorgias put together. So his emphasis is always on his importance and his earning money and all. Then, I understand. You people are wiser, but the Socrates, in his sarcastic manner, is the earlier, philosophers and people, teachers were not as clever as you are. Nowadays, you not only do public service, you have this private service also. You look after your own interest also. It's not simply the public service which you do. So the talk goes on like this. And at a particular point of time, this Hippias tells Socrates, Socrates, I have come here, I am going to deliver a lecture. After 3-4 days, I am going to deliver a lecture in that school. Why don't you come and listen to my lecture? Oh my God, yeah, tell me, what is it you are all going to speak? Then he says, I am going to speak about all the heroes and great men, their exploits and all the beautiful professions and occupations, so that I can inspire youth. Then, now is the point for the starting point for the dialogue. Now Socrates listens to all these things and he says, oh, it's very interesting. When you talk about the beautiful professions, this comes to my mind. See, Hippias, I am really very lucky to meet such a wise man. Yeah, tell me, Socrates, what is it you want? No, recently I met a fellow, a very stubborn fellow and very difficult fellow, an acquaintance of mine, Yeah, what happened? What happened with him? He says, I was talking about some discourse. Discourse means speech, which I listened, and I was talking about its beauty and all that, where it is beautiful, where it's not beautiful, and all these things. Then suddenly this fellow sprang at me a question, and he says, Socrates, you are talking about a beautiful discourse, all these things. Now, are you really, do you really know what is beautiful? So this is the starting point. This stubborn man, a very difficult man, to talk to this man is very, very difficult, this person. So he asked me the question, what is beautiful? Now, I was at a loss to reply. Why? Because I couldn't reply him. I couldn't tell him what is beautiful. Now I am meeting such a wise person in Hippias. Kindly enlighten me. I will be very grateful to you if you tell me what is beautiful. Then Hippias says, oh, that's all. It is such an easy thing, Socrates. Don't worry. I will instruct you in such a manner. You go and tell him, and after you explain to him what is beautiful according to what I teach you, then he will keep quiet. He won't, again trouble you. Then Socrates said, no, don't tell, that fellow is very difficult to tackle. If I tell him something, he will respond, he will react. It is not complete acceptance. He is going to question on what I tell him. So, please save me. Now Socrates, tells him, see, that fellow is a little impertinent fellow. He will ask very, very uncomfortable questions. Okay? So what I will do is, please don't mind, think that fellow is aiming at me, Socrates, so you don't get hurt, because whatever he says, it is aimed at me to expose my foolishness, to expose my ignorance. So, kindly, but I am passing on the questions to you, and you please reply calmly without getting perturbed, without getting offended. So, this is the Socratic trick, to hide. He wants to hide himself from the wrath of this Hippias. So, he directly doesn't want to hurt him. It is something like, I am going to some X and tells him, say, don't take it ill, that person Y was telling that X is a complete idiot. He doesn't know anything. So I am telling this X, saying that it's not that I told, I am telling, it is the opinion of Y. So don't take offense at me. So that is the trick of Socrates. So see the device. Socrates has created a third person to shoot his barbs at this fellow. Okay, at this Hippias. Now the more interesting part of the dialogue comes. So how is this fellow Hippias is going to answer these questions of what is beauty? What is beauty, or what is beauty, or what is beautiful? That was the question. Now this word in Greek language, kalon, it is called as kalon. Anyhow, that doesn't, you need not much worry about it. That is the word. But then in English translation, beauty translated as beauty, or translated as noble, or translated as nice. So this is just for your information. So sometimes when we translate things from one language to another, probably the other language may not exactly convey the same thing. This is always the problem in world literature, especially the philosophical literature. You have to understand, in Indian philosophy, we have this very prominent word dharma. See, scholars say it's very difficult to translate this dharma in Western language. So it is something like that. But still, scholars agree on that. The nearest equivalent for this kalon will be beauty. So now the question is put. So we are going to the province of the main second part of the dialogue. In this part, we are going to examine the answers given by Hippias, and we will see whether the Socrates created, unknown person. That Hippias asked, who is that fellow? What is his name? Then Socrates says, don't worry about it. You may not know him at all, so he is not telling his name. I don't want to tell his name, but such a fellow exists, and he is a perennial pest for me. Alright, tell him, Hippias says, beauty is a beautiful maiden. Beauty is a beautiful maiden. Maiden in the sense of virgin. Why virgin? Let us not discuss about it, because if you take these scholars, somebody writes an entire PhD thesis on why Socrates used that word. Fortunately, I am not going to go into that, all those intricacies. He only says, beautiful maiden, you can say beautiful girl, that's all, in common language. A beautiful girl is beauty. Then Socrates says, are you serious, Hippias? I ask him, what is beauty? You are giving me just a beautiful girl, beautiful maiden. Are you really serious? Why? I am serious only. Why? Anybody will accept. Beauty is a beautiful girl. Why? I mean, your fellow, what? If he doesn't accept, he is ridiculous. He will look ridiculous. He says, Socrates says, surely he will not accept Socrates. This answer, he may rail at me, if I give this answer. And whether he will look ridiculous or not, now I cannot say. Don't say that he will look ridiculous if he doesn't accept this answer. So, now, he says, my fellow, what will be his reaction? See, Socrates is giving again all. So, the entire dialogue, almost the 90% of the dialogue, the Socrates is there, but the talking is done by an unknown. That is the pretension. Everybody will understand, We are not fools not to understand it. But in the dialogue, it is shown that everything is the dialogue of that person created by Socrates. So, no. We will call him as a refuter in future, Refuter is the other person. The refuter, what he would say, so, alright, beautiful maiden. Then what about a beautiful mare? Mare means the horse, the female horse. What about the beautiful man? My God, is he foolish? When I am talking about a beautiful maiden, can you compare a beautiful maiden with a beautiful horse, mare? And third, he says, what about a beautiful pot? So one is the animal and another is the thing. What about a beautiful pot? Well, all beautiful. So he would ridicule us. He is ridiculing you like this. So, what is it? Then he is very much annoyed. What is this? Why? What is wrong with my reply, that beautiful maiden? Then he says, my refuter will say, compared to a beautiful maiden and a beautiful pot, which is more beautiful? Then Hippias gets annoyed. He says, how can I compare a pot with a beautiful maid? It is such a silly thing, Can they be compared at all? A pot, an inanimate thing, a pot in itself may be beautiful, but who are we to compare this and that? Then he says, compared to a beautiful maiden, the pot is nothing but ugly. Then he is trapped. Now really Hippias is trapped. Alright, you are saying like this. Okay, now what about gods? So the same fate is going to is awaiting for the beautiful maiden, because compared to a god or goddess, the beautiful maiden, what is she? Then he is trapped. He says, compared to a god, the beautiful maiden is ugly. That means, another interesting point. Take even the most beautiful of the monkeys, apes. Take the most beautiful of the monkeys and the human race. Okay, human race, human. Take these two classes. Of course, there is a resemblance between monkey and man. So, the most beautiful monkey, will be ugly compared to a normal human being. So, this problem arises. And Socrates says, see, I asked you, my refuter did not ask what are beautiful items, things and all. He wants to know what is absolute beauty. What is common to all the beautiful things? He wants to know that. The essence of beauty, the cause of beauty. What is that beauty? Which you say, which is common. We did not ask you instances of beauty. This is beautiful, that is beautiful. Now we have shown the same thing under certain circumstances will be considered beautiful and under certain circumstances will be considered ugly. So there is a relativity. Don't want that. My refuter, he says he wants to know something which when added to the other things gives it beauty. Makes it beautiful. Makes it beautiful. That is the term. Makes it beautiful. What is it? So your answer is not satisfactory. So you have to accept it. So he gives the second answer. The second answer is that he says gold. Gold is beautiful. Why? Because you add gold to anything, then it is beautiful. So he thought that he has given a very smart answer. Now, again, he says, is it okay? Tell your refuter that this is the answer. And he says, no, my refuter will not accept this answer. Why he will not accept this answer? He says, take the statue of Athena. Athena was goddess of Athens, created by a great sculptor, Hippias. So he says, my refuter will ask, is Hippias a bad sculptor? No, how can I say that? He was one of the best sculptors in Greece. Very good. Then, did not Hippias know what Hippias knows? Why do you ask that? Because in the statue of Athena, is it made of gold? No. It's made of what? It is made of ivory. Then, is not ivory beautiful? Then, even in the statue, there are certain parts where you find stones. Is it not beautiful there? And this person, Hippias is not able to answer properly. You cannot say, you can't put gold anywhere you like and say it will become beautiful. So he gives another example. Take for example, a pot. Again, a pot comes. A pot, a nice pot. And in that pot we are making soup and all. Are you going to use a ladle made of fig wood? Or a ladle made of gold? Obviously it is fig wood only. You will use only a wooden ladle to stir your soup and eat it. If you use golden thing, it will be catastrophe. So it will be more beautiful that is it the pig or it will be the goat? So this answer is rubbish. So no, it's not acceptable. So his second answer is not acceptable. Then comes the third answer. So he is right. Now it's a more elaborate answer. Now he says, it is beautiful for any man and anybody to have a very long life, healthy, wealthy, honored by Greeks. You should have honor. And after living a long life, you live a long life and you give a fitting funeral to your parents, very good funeral. And then when you die also, you get a fitting funeral from your children. So this is his conception now. Here he goes into the life itself. It's a beautiful life. Is there any objection? I don't think your refuter can say anything against this. It's a beautiful. See, the problem with Hippias is he is quoting all the time the instances of beauty, so which we have to understand in philosophy. But he is not giving a general, general idea of what is beautiful, what is something common in all the things. That is what Socrates is aiming at, or the refuter is aiming at. Whereas he is not able to. So he gives this. Now he says, so he is very happy that he has given a wonderful answer. Now he says, so hope your refuter will be satisfied with this. Socrates, no. In fact, he will first laugh at me. Why he has to laugh at you? It is. He says he is, according to him, it is such a ridiculous answer. This answer is not acceptable. Why? So then again, they give the reason from Greek history and mythology of, say, Achilles and Hercules. And these people, they were born of gods, but they died. Gods don't die. Gods are immortal. So in their case, this cannot be applied because their parents don't die, so they could not have given them fitting funeral. So like that, some instances from the Greek history and mythology were pointed out. What do you say? Your definition is not applicable to anybody, Why Hercules is not a person or Achilles is not a person? So again, this was rejected. So he was very angry. His three definitions were rejected by the refuter. Now, what is the way out? So, in the next part of the dialogue, Socrates cleverly tells him, okay, my refuter sometimes, though he is an obstinate and very irritable fellow, sometimes he gives you some suggestions. So, he is going to give some suggestions. So, can we examine? Then this fellow reluctantly, So, before that, he also makes a point. Hippias say, it's a great problem for me now. When I tell all these definitions which you are teaching me, if that refuter if he is having a stick, he will give me beatings, thrash me like anything. He says, I am really scared, you are teaching me like this. Then he says, how can he thrash you? This is a place where there is law, and if he thrashes you, he has to be punished. The city will punish and all. So there will be a little dialogue on that. Then Socrates, again to provoke him, he says, no. I feel he is justified in thrashing me, if I give him that answer. So this is all aimed at provoking Hippias to show him that he is not as intelligent as he pretends to be. That is the idea. So this is called Socrates' sarcasm or irony. As if he is praising him, but everything is directed against him to show his foolishness. Now he says, my refuter is in the habit of giving some suggestions. So can we examine these suggestions? Okay, let us examine. Now after these three definitions, there are 4 suggestions. So quickly I will go through that 4 suggestions, and with that the dialogue ends. And whether they are going to find out what it is? No. This also dialogue, like many other dialogues, ends in an impasse, difficulty. So there is always great difficulty. If you have observed a Socratic dialogues, there is always great difficulty in defining certain things. It is not that easy as we think, because if we give many examples, there are certain things which will not fit them. Okay, so that is generally, that is shown in the Socratic dialogues. So don't read Socratic dialogues to find an answer for a problem. It is to show you how to approach a problem. And of course, even when you have partially, imperfect definitions, they help you to enlarge the scope of your thought and your thinking. So that is the takeaway from Socrates' dialogue. It shows you how to reason, how to accept. So it shows you the intellectual, way of investigating things. Now let us come to the point. Now, first definition is beauty is something which is appropriate. What is meant by that appropriate? Appropriate means something when you add to it, when you put on it, say if it is a thing at all, it makes it beautiful. It makes it beautiful. It is same. We can take the statue, a particular statue, and suppose for the eyes you put certain stones, and this when it is added, it makes it beautiful. So that is the thing which is appropriate there. So where in aesthetics, wherever things are appropriate, matching, that is appropriate, fitting, matching, then it gives beauty. Beauty is, so in a short way you can say beauty is, it's only a suggestion, it's not accepted. Beauty is appropriateness. Now, the point arises, this Hippias says, it appears to be reasonable, because even if a person, is not so good looking, but he puts on very nice dress, really very, very nice dress. Then afterwards, you see him, he appears really handsome, with all those dress. It is something, masking his ugliness, Then Socrates says, you are not catching the point. Now he distinguishes between two philosophical concepts, which is the appearance and reality. So in the discussion, see, if something appears beautiful, they are not satisfied. It may appear beautiful, but is it beautiful? So this is the problem. What is actually and what appears? He says, ugly man will look handsome, you add something. But my refuter doesn't want that. Actually, why means they are aiming at the metaphysics of Plato. This is an early dialogue. Still the ideas are not fully crystallized. In later dialogues, which I had earlier told you, Plato is very famous for something known as the theory of forms. So, according to Plato, if you talk about beauty, all the beautiful things which we see normally, you say they are partaking, that is the language used by him, in a form known as beauty. And where is that form? According to Plato, that form, there is a separate realm. It is not the everyday world of senses. It is beyond our senses. There is a world of forms. In that world of forms, all the ideal beauty will be there. So he is aiming at that, even in this dialogue. So that is not coming out, because always when we talk about beauty, we don't talk about, we also can't talk about any other thing. We can talk about only beautiful things. See, beauty can be there even if you go to a dictionary. What is beauty? If you go and find out, beauty is something which is pleasing to the senses. That is, go to the Oxford Dictionary, it will give only that definition. So, there are so many senses, that is why you have a beautiful boy, beautiful girl, you have a beautiful poem, beautiful song, means it appeals to the sense of hearing, that is it. So that there is always an inherent difficulty, so you can't blame this Hippias also. So now this is not much accepted. Beauty is appropriateness, but if it only makes something appear beautiful, I am not worried. So that is abandoned. Then what is the next one? Then they say, always, beautiful things are also useful. And it gives many examples. And there are many beautiful things which are useful. Apart from the form and all that, they are useful. So many examples are given. But then, in order to make something useful, you require power. You have to be powerful also. But then, can we say beauty is either power or beauty is either use? In any case, that is also not satisfactory because power is not always good. You know, power can be misused. It can be used for bad purposes also. So that is also rejected. You know, it's a long discussion in all these things, giving examples. Then third definition is, so well, beauty, also, in many cases, it is the cause of, finally, the word good comes. Something good, or something beneficial. Now, they are again using their logic, they examine. So we can take beauty is the cause of good. Now, whenever there is a cause A and an effect B, okay, so they are different. Cause is different from the effect. The cause A is different from the effect B it produces. So taking that, beauty you can say is the father of the good. And father and son are not identical. Father is different from son. So in a similar way, if we extend this logic, they arrive at a funny conclusion. Beauty is not good, good is not beauty. When you take the idea that beauty is the cause of the good, then they arrive at a conclusion. It's somehow not appealing. That's all. It is not appealing, so that is also rejected. Then the refuter suggests the last one. Last one is interesting. Here only it comes little to the aesthetics. Because when we talk about beauty, even in philosophy, there is a particular branch of philosophy known as aesthetics. In India, we have a highly developed system of aesthetics. Navarasas and all are there, nuances of, enjoying things and all. It's really a great subject. But the beauty examined by Socrates is an overall thing, encompassing everything, not only art. So the last definition goes nearer to the art. So little acceptable for us. So the last definition suggested by the refuter is, beauty is a joy. Okay, it is a joy produced. Joy means pleasure, something pleasing, produced by sight and hearing. So now we are coming to the senses, sight and hearing. Even when suddenly the word beauty is told, immediately you think of your eyes only. The sight only comes to our mind. First thing. Afterwards only all the other forms of beauty. So he gives this definition. Beauty is the joy produced by sight and hearing. Now they are going to dissect it. Even this refuter, even though he gives a suggestion, he would not accept it. He would raise various objections to his own suggestions. And a lot of objections are raised. Very easy thing for you to do. Why you have taken only sight and hearing? There are other senses. So that it comes in the discussion. The refuter says, there are other senses. The sense of touch is there. The sense of taste is there. The food, beautiful, food. Smell, beautiful smell we say, very fragrant things. So these things are other senses. What is the reason for excluding them? He also gives a very funny, mischievous suggestion. You mean to say, so you are ashamed of the other senses? Are you people ashamed of the other senses in excluding them? So they are hinting, refuter is hinting at sexual pleasure. He says, what is it? Nobody will deny that there is not something beautiful in it. They won't say it. And why? Maybe because it is the act which everybody is ashamed to be seen in the act. Any person is ashamed to be seen in the sexual act. Maybe that is why, because of decency and all that, you are excluding it. So lot of objections are put for this beauty. Of course, it is true, beauty is a joy produced by psychedelic. The only thing is, it excludes many other things. Also, the question arises, what about the intellectual beauty? We have a beautiful law enactor, law, customs, intellectual things, where thinking is involved. There are beautiful, say take for example mathematics. There is a very beautiful equation. The people, mathematicians talk about the beauty of mathematics. Many mathematicians, they talk about it. They are thrilled. When they see a particular result shown by, say, Srinivasa Ramanujan. The mathematicians in UK, they were thrilled. Nobody, could have written this theorem except a very seasoned mathematician. Like that, there are other forms of beauty. So all of them are excluded if you are only confined yourself to sight and hearing. So the discussion was going on like this. Now finally, this chap is irritated. Hippias is irritated. Socrates, what is all these things? You are simply, before that he asks, who is that fellow? Tell me, who is that fellow who is troubling you with all these things? It's very silly. Like that, he was very much irritated. Then Socrates replies to him, oh, you want to know? He is Socrates, the son of Sophocles, his father's name. This fellow doesn't know Socrates' father's name. Then he was little perplexed. Whatever it is, Socrates, you are wasting my time. All this verbiage, useless disputations. Why don't see? We have to go after our business. Go, if you have work in the court, shortly he is going to face the trial. Make a nice discourse and protect yourself. All these things are important. You have to be worldly wise. Instead of doing that, you are wasting your time. Socrates feels very bad. Oh, what can I do? And all that. Finally, he has to go, without investigating into the real nature of beauty. And in his parting thing, he quotes a Greek proverb which is, beautiful things are really difficult. It is the Greek proverb. So with that, the dialogue ends. Thank you for listening to me patiently.
Sir, thank you for that beautiful lecture, if I can call that one, on Hippias' major, that is what is beauty. A dialogue between Hippias and Socrates, which you narrated in detail in the last 1 hour. So thank you once again. With these lectures, actually you take us back into the times of Plato and Greece. And to me personally, you keep introducing new words even in English during this lecture, and it's a welcome addition to all of us. So on behalf of Indian Institute of World Culture and all of us here, a big thank you once again. And as a token of our appreciation, please accept this gratitude. So a quick information on our upcoming music program day after tomorrow, that is September 26th, Sunday at 6 p.m. In memory of Srimati V. Radhabai and Sri Vasudeva Murthy, we have a Carnatic music concert by Vidushi Dr. T.S. Satyavati and team. So we look forward for your active participation in that program too. Thank you all for taking time and attending today's lecture. Look forward to your continued support. A pleasant evening ahead. Thank you all.